All right. Thanks for being here today. Author, actor, speaker, painter, and more. Holly Hester, thanks for being here.
Thank you so
Shall
much
we,
for having me.
shall we start with the writing?
Sure.
Okay. When in your bio it says author, do you see a difference between author and writer?
I absolutely do. That's a great question. The difference in a writer and an author, authors really are kind of in the algorithm of the stories. And they create so much of an algorithm of it that their surroundings are. Authors have a lot to say. Writing is completely different. Anyone and everyone can write in their journals. Especially when you start that, you're a journaler, or let's just say you didn't have a lot of friends in school, or you were always a creative individual. Let's just say for any writers out there, you know exactly what I mean when I say this. For writing, you can write in your journal. You can write your thoughts. Even in therapy, they'll say that that's really the process of writing. So the difference in writing and authoring is completely different. It's experience and years and timing. So there's a lot more to being an author than just a writer. Anyone can be a writer, but an author is a person that really takes their work seriously, and not just as a story to tell, but appreciates the growth process, and appreciates helping others see that growth and that there is more to life. And authoring is I've read so many books where the author says, "Let me help you," and informative. So, information versus being informative to grow is probably my difference. Everyone's got their different definition, but that's really mine.
Okay. When you do write, where do you do your most of it?
Sure. I do it on, I mean, you can do it anywhere. I do it on my phone. I do it on the laptop, my laptop. I store a lot of what my thoughts are. I store a lot of the feedback from my book, Higher Living. And I'm actually working on my second one right now, but it's gotten a lot of feedback. It's helped a lot of lives. Usually for me, I'm no different than anyone else when it comes to writing. I have scribbled since I was 10 years old, and I've been really in the creative process since 10 years old. And I knew that kind of creativity would branch out and partner with others as far as that goes. But in authoring, I'm just now kind of working on my second book. It takes time. It takes years. It's not just something overnight. Writing can be every minute. It can definitely be overnight. Authoring is not that. So I'm definitely a writer in both. So.
Is there a way that you get into the state of mind or the mood to do writing? Is there like a setup or a particular place that you like to do most of it?
Sure, sure. I like to do it really after, on a sunny day when the weather's nice, or because when it rains, you really kind of want to do other things. You really want to just stay out of the rain and maybe just kind of sleep. It could be good to write when it's raining outside, though. So the weather is really what affects it. Also, it's being around it. It depends on the atmosphere. It depends on the people. If you're a sensitive person like that, it depends on wherever you draw your inspiration. I mean, I don't know who out there, how your inspiration is drawn. Your inspiration might be drawn. Some people's inspiration is drawn by people, atmosphere, traveling, doing their hobbies, exercising. You get that dopamine high from that. So it's whatever dopamine levels that you're at, and it's whatever you're doing in the activities that you're doing to kind of regulate things. And so it depends on what your soul is saying, how your soul responds to certain after I run, that sort of thing. I mean, I'm exercising, I'm releasing as far as that goes. I'm getting in the mindset. So it's whenever you're in the mindset is when you're in a writer's mindset, you're really feeling it. Your target neurons are reaching and firing. So it's really it's whatever neurons are firing in that moment. And if they're writing neurons, great. And if they cause that desire to continue, that's even more amazing. So for me, it really depends on what I'm doing. I love when the weather's nice, when I'm in a good atmosphere, when I'm around music. the music playing. So it's whatever writing for me, but I'm just thankful to be writing, because a lot don't really, there is writer's block out there. So I'm very privileged to do that.
Do you have like a playlist that you use or particular songs you listen to if you're writing a certain thing, like a kind of a soundtrack to your book?
No, there's just motivational, because my book is very motivational, higher living. It's motivational. Yeah, it's just very, very motivational. It's uplifting. It's family oriented. It's very warm. So it's if I'm laughing and if I'm around family, more might catch on. If it's a sunny day outside, more might catch on. If it's, if the mood is setting in, if it's classic or jazz or something like that, yeah. So it all depends on the genre of the book too. If someone's writing a very serious sci-fi, they might be listening to more of like, deeper music, sort of like, or maybe Rocky Balboa music type thing. So for me, motivational. So probably the classic is more toward the goal, and you can, and you're a survivor, you're an achiever type music. I mean, anything like that. So.
Okay. Yeah. When I write, I've done some science fiction, and just any type of book, when I'm in a particular scene, sometimes I'll be thinking about it when I'm running or swimming. And
Yeah.
then when I listen to certain music that kind of sets the scene in my head for that scene, then
Yes.
I'll write on whether I'm writing on paper or typing it, I'll have the name of that song. And then I kind of use that as the scene name while I'm doing my draft. And then I'll put my little explanation of what the scene's about there with the song. And then at the end, when I've written everything, I have my playlist that has all those songs on it. So as I'm writing and adding scenes, I add those songs to the playlist. So when I am out running or swimming, I listen to that, and it makes me think about that scene, and I play it over and over again in my mind. And that
Yeah.
helps kind of work things out to get the feeling of it. But I do understand the idea of getting the right song for the right state of mind for the right scene. When you write,
Yeah.
what programs do you use? Do you use
I mean,
just Word or something else?
yeah, it's honestly just anything Apple, YouTube, that sort of thing. Just, like you said, like Spotify, things like that. When you have your own personal playlist, and then, it's not just one song. You kind of have to just kind of delve into that, because it's also a scientific fact that music releases endorphins and that dopamine too. So it's one of those things. If you're motivational, if you're listening to the right music, and if you're listening to it, over and over again, and it's that, it's one of the good days, when, it's just, you just feeling that day type of thing. And it's more than one song. It should really just kind of pour out of you, type of thing. If it's what you're meant to do, if everything's in alignment, and, it's really life for you at that point, purpose.
How do you set goals for your writing during the day? If you're working on a book, do you say, I have a word count I'm trying to get to a day, a chapter, or a time you're writing for? How do you motivate yourself that way?
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, hopefully you do get all the goals, but in reality, you can be writing your book down and say, get done with book, by it's 2020, 2020, 2021, 2022, and in the gap of 3 years, you're looking back on it, as I am kind of looking back on it now. The reality of it is I'm going to be releasing my next book, probably in 2024, 2025, realistically in 2025, because it's not only just a process, but hopefully that goal is reached. And I'm looking back on it, and the day that I started my first book, and it was a goal, but it was more mentally. And then yes, so you do write these things out, you do have the vision board, you write that process out, and you help yourself. And hopefully everyone does reach their goal, but realistically, you have to give your goals time. You really have to. And hopefully you reach your goal for that day and each week and each year, but also not so hard on yourself. It's really not good to be hard on yourself. It's okay. I didn't reach that goal for this day, but I have tomorrow type of thing. I mean, hopefully in other words, everything that we write down, hopefully we do achieve. And I would love to be that optimistic. At the end of the day, I don't always do this. But hopefully goals will always be set. Yes. So that's my answer.
When you wrote the last book you wrote, or the one you're working on now, how did you do it by word count a day or by time spent writing each day?
Both, really. I paid attention to how many letters. I paid attention to the word count, like you said. I paid attention to, it really helps in that process, the font and this and that, and then the outline that you've already provided yourself. And okay, what is the goal? Okay, this chapter is going to be about this. That chapter is going to be about this. This message is this, and you kind of just have to stay organized like that. So organization and prioritizing are a huge, huge deal. Yeah. And word count and having everything outlined before, and if they're writing surprises, hopefully the surprises is filling in more gaps. Hopefully you have more to say that's really relevant in the material. But bad surprises are those interruption, those phone, email, those interruptions that are honestly just as important. And that's how things become troubled. Do I do this or do I do that? Because writers can have solely that job, but they do so many other things as well. And as I'm sure that you can relate to, because of the writing and because of the creativity. So hopefully that is really the main problem is we have so many priorities, but to kind of the writing is the main priority within this gap of months. So, hopefully the writing process stays in the front burner.
How do you do your pre-writing? Is it something you do on notes on paper, or do you do it on a writing program?
Both in anything and everything. If you get an idea, write it down. If you get a thought, if you have an inspiration, write it down on your phone, record yourself. A lot of people, that is really a hindrance for many. And I have learned from that myself so many times. I'll record myself, or I will write it down there in the moment. Don't get so focused on writing it down in one area that whenever, and that can happen to some writers. And I love it. That has actually happened to some of my mentors, where they'll be writing down on one thing, and then they'll have writer's block. They'll have written 3 chapters. They're stuck in one particular paragraph, and then they get to their laptop, and then it just, like a waterfall. It just like flows completely out of them, and then they're done the next day. And it's like, how did that happen?
How did you come up with the idea for your first book?
Higher living. It was the easiest. Higher living is a mindset. And I was raised in a family, and I was raised in my upbringing. I grew up in a missionary's home and an entrepreneur's home. I saw my parents flip houses. I saw my mother, that she was a giver. She was very much a giver, and she sacrificed a lot to help others. She has sacrificed a lot for her children, like many women out there have. And I just started thinking about how many people that actually have the mindset that's right for their children. And I actually started to begin to research and things like that, and how many families are an actual family now, and how many people eat by themselves every night, and many statistics. It's not just that, but how many people who went to college versus people who were right in high school, dropped out, and were very successful in their craft. I mean, people with all walks of life. And then I realized that they all had one thing in common. It's a mindset. How did they, this is where I began to ask myself questions like, how did they grow up? How did people grow up differently than me? How did they grow up? Why did they do the career that they did? Do they want to help people? and then all this algorithm of different questions and upbringings and people's passions, and how many people in life know their purpose, how many people in life fulfill their obligations in their life because somebody else put them up to it, and how many people did it because they actually wanted to achieve their goals. And the truth is, it's about 65%. And I thought, is this statistic bad? And so I began to write all these different things and these interesting things that people go through in life, and what would help them reach that next step in their purpose. What would help them realize, I'm doing this right? What would help them be a better mother? What would help them fulfill their mission? What would help them meet that person of their dreams? Or just, go back in the dating world if they need to. What would help things? What would help them along to be happy again and to reach even financial success? And so that's when Higher Living came about, because it's a mindset about our purpose. It's not so much material things. It's about what that next step is.
Okay. When you were writing it, did you have a audience in mind, or like an ideal reader that you would be able to kind of check in with as you wrote it, and maybe not show them the first draft, but show them after a couple of drafts through, just to see what they thought about it?
Absolutely. A lot of people, actually, I was getting feedback from one of my viewers, actually, because I do podcasting. And I do a lot of video and a lot of speaking too. One of my viewers in particular said that my book changed her life because she got out of prostitution. She got pregnant, in her journey, and she got out of prostitution after she read my book, and she realized my platform, and she said, for some reason, the warmth and the presence that your book is, and what your platform is, I quit that. I quit my need to feel bad about myself for whatever reason, and do that, because there's always a motive when someone's in something. They just have to kind of figure it out. Okay, why am I doing this? Which is exactly what I said Higher Living was about. So she asked herself, why am I doing this? I've got a son to raise now, and he doesn't want to see all this. He doesn't really want to see this as an example, and I don't want him to, even if he's a toddler, even if he's however old he is, even if he's like 1, he's not going to know. Well, the truth is they do know. And the truth is, she wanted to quit, and she wanted more. She wanted to feel something. She wanted to feel purpose. So she quit, got 2 jobs, carried her son throughout that stage very healthily, surprisingly. And she's out now. She's better. She's keeping those 2 jobs. She's working her way. And I believe the last time I spoke to her, she was going for a huge position, and she got it. And she said she doesn't even know how she's there, and she doesn't even know how her kid is healthy, and she and he have a great relationship. And so it really sounds like it, and it's not about really what you choose to do for a career, even though, some careers might be more able, and some paths might be more accepted than others. It's really not about that. It's, what does your soul need? What do you feel like you need? What is your mind set on doing? What do you want your mind to be set on? Because Higher Living is a mindset instead of a mentality.
So when you were writing it, then you would send people chapters of it, and then they'd let you know what they thought about it, or how did that work?
Absolutely. They would say, this is motivational, and I'm definitely feeling something from this, and I definitely want to grow, and I want to get better, and I want to know more importantly than my chapters in my book, because to be honest with you, I just didn't want to do another self-help book. I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be family oriented. I wanted people to feel a sense of home again. So a lot of people were actually asking me, this is a great book, but who is the person that's writing it? I'd like to get to know them more. And so I gave them more access to my story and the things and the trials that I have been through as a person, and my journey. And they were intrigued. They loved it, and it gave them more hope.
Did you get into podcasting before you were writing books, or after?
Absolutely, because I wanted people to get to know me before I released the book. And honestly, I want people to fully get to know me now before I release my next one. I want people to get to know my voice as an author, and that, because it's not just a character that I'm playing. I'm definitely an actress. That's one of my platforms, but I don't want just a character to play. And so, turn her on and, oh, I care about people type of turn me off. And then I'm to myself and, hey, I really need help typing, an email to me, and then, okay, sorry, call somebody else type of thing, reach out to a family member. And I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want that disconnect. I want people to know that, what they're seeing is kind of what they're getting in that aspect. And that's really important to me, that message to just be who you are and have that mindset in action.
Well, what's your format for your podcast?
So basically the format is my messages. But I'm going to also do an expansion and do a cooking show as well. A cooking, like record myself and that kind of thing. And I'm kind of getting more into that as well. And like I said, I just want you to feel the warmth. I want you to feel fun. I want it to be a very community driven thing, because I feel like that's my purpose. People, it's a very cold world, and people need to feel like they're sitting down at a table eating, because that was my upbringing, and that's one of the chapters in my book. So,
what's the name of your podcast?
Higher Living. Yeah, Higher Living. Okay. Yeah.
What's your setup for that? Like, how often do you publish?
I'm trying to do it every week, and I'll be able to know more. I'm launching it probably within the next book. It will be a great time to launch that a little bit more, kind of in the face type of thing, in your face. And I just want 2024 to be that, because things are getting worse in this world. So I want to bring more warmth. And so, like I said, timing is everything. And so I just kind of wanted to present that to people, something to hold on to.
Is it a video podcast or audio?
It's going to be more of an audio type of thing. It's going to be an audio. The visible will be the cooking show. It will be the cooking podcast. But what I wanted to do was kind of, have an audio something, and then kind of a video type thing too. So it will be interesting the way to incorporate that into certain things. And COVID is in things and have changed everything now. So it's going to be fun to see what the team and I come up with for sure.
Okay. With your painting, where do you see the connection or the crossover between writing and visual art? Do you see that connecting anywhere?
It's so interesting. I've been asked that so much. Yes, I could see that. I could definitely see that collaborating with each other, because one of my platforms is a life coach. And one of the platforms that I use, and my second website that I use is on Alignable. And that basically, I very much relate life coaching with painting too, because a lot of my clients actually sign up and they paint while we talk. And so that's a form of life coaching. And a way to incorporate that in my book would be a dream come true, to paint. That would be in my paintings that are in galleries, that would be great. I hope to feature that in my second book for sure. It's definitely a way to help people and be very colorful. Change it up a little bit.
Do you see a link between the creative side of writing and art? Like when you visualize or you think about outlining a story versus visualizing or outlining a painting, do you do that the same, or is there some similarities and differences in the two?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll give you an example. When I first started painting, my instructor got so mad at me one time. I was painting, and she said, And if you're listening to this right now, yes, I'm talking about you. No, no, it's okay. Hopefully I don't get her in too much trouble. No, she's a wonderful person. She knows this about herself though. She's very stern, but get it done. Yeah, I respect that, because I was raised with a strong, powerful woman myself. So she came over to me and I was doing stuff, and she stops me and she goes, okay, now unless you're those people who does not need to sketch it out beforehand, you're gonna need to sketch it out. Like you can't just paint. You've got to sketch it out and draw it out first. Well, I didn't know this at the time, but I was turning into one of those people. I skipped the process of drawing it out because I already see it in my head. Because of, I come from that. I come from a very creative person. My great grandmother was a very, very creative person. She pretty much did the same thing, and she was on Broadway and things like that. So, I mean, I didn't really realize this, and the gene didn't really jump and leap until I saw this kind of unfold, and I had realized it wasn't a pride. I had just realized as I was becoming that person, oh man, I'm so grateful. I'm so very grateful that I don't need to be. And it wasn't a boast. It was being very thankful. But I also had to watch, because in a way, I kind of almost took the bait of feeling bad about myself and feeling bad that others couldn't do that same thing, and it was very humbling to me to hear that, and to see that manifest and unfold. And so in writing, when you outline, unless you're one of those people that just kind of goes in and just kind of writes, it's extremely hard, because as a painter, my approach is differently than in writing. In painting, I don't need to outline. I see it in my head, and then I paint out what I see. I paint out the image that I've given, or I've painted out exactly what's in front of me. In portraits and impressionist painting and abstract painting, things like that. But as far as writing, no, you cannot skip on outlining. You just can't. You have to stay, even if even if that your writing material, what it is, you have to stick to it. You have to, okay, go over it again. Okay, editing. Okay, more editing. Okay, again. You have to do it because you're presenting your best work to people. So it's not the same thing. Writing is way more tedious than painting, in my opinion, but many out there say the painting is way more tedious than writing. So it's all a matter of perspective.
When you paint, are you trying to tell a story, or is it more of capturing an emotion or an idea?
Telling us, there's always a story to tell in painting. There is always a story to tell in writing, but who are the characters in the story? So both are very similar in that aspects. They are definitely synonyms in that respect. The antonym of writing and painting, like I said, is can you skip a step in either one of them? And you absolutely can skip steps, but which one will be more consequential? And what is the audience in the two of them? That can be very anonymous, antinomous. So,
what drives your painting? Do you think it's the same muse or drive as the writing, or is it a different place?
I think it ends up being the same place. As far as writing goes, painting is, you either have it or you kind of don't, type of thing. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant on that, but I've seen it too many times. I grew up and I was always around very quiet people who painted around me. There weren't very many of them. But the two that were around me were very quiet. They were very mature. And their artwork was never on display. It was always hidden within their house, and they just really taught others with it. And I never really kind of knew fully what they did, and I feel like in a way they cherished that. So that's what the motive was with that, and so of course I didn't know. So of course that didn't grow within me because I didn't know them, and I didn't have that kind of connection with them. As far as writing, That's a little different of a world because you can jot anything down, but your trials and how you deal with things and the therapy of that will always dictate your voice in writing. And it will always dictate what kind of a book that you feel like you can. There are many out there who they have a voice in motivation, but yet they're gonna write a book on mystery. They'll write a book on thriller. They'll write a book in the thriller genre. They'll write a book in the business genre whenever their true gift is their perception of people and can help many by that. So like I said, not everyone is an author, but I think that writing is very very therapeutic. So
I see writing is a great way to help you get your thoughts straight. So it teaches you how to think because you have to get it out to somebody else and get the point across that you're trying to get across. So if writing teaches you how to think, what does painting teach you how to do?
Well, that's a great question. Writing teaches you, yeah. What does painting teach you to do?
Yep. Just along those lines. Like if you think that writing helps you organize your
Yeah,
mind and think,
yeah.
what does painting do in that respect?
Right. I think painting just helps you with your mental recognition, patterns and things that you recognize. Because every time I'm painting, let's just say for me, and this is not everyone does this, but when I'm painting, I recognize what I do. Like I recognize the pattern of it. My hand will go here whenever I have to paint a hat, or my hand will go there whenever I'm trying to paint something else on the page or on the board, on the canvas. What my hand will smooth it out in this area. The paint will get a little rougher in this area, and I pay attention to those patterns. And what that will do is that will help me go paying attention. So this is the pattern that I'm doing in this. So how can I fix it with the next one? How can I achieve to be a better artist with the next one? So it really kind of helps your mental recognition, and it kind of helps you to see what your memory is. It will help you recognize and maybe expand your memory, because if you'll study yourself and if you'll recognize how you paint, you can actually see, okay, well then let me test myself. Let me see how much more I study, and let me see how many more patterns I'm capable of remembering. And so it will really kind of gear you in other areas. You'll be a better test taker. Maybe you'll be able to remember more, in taking other tests. Maybe will help you to grow as a student, regardless how much of an education you have, maybe in college. Or maybe it will help you remember birthdays more. Maybe you're failing with your children, and you're one of those parents who you remember everything else about your kid, but for some reason you don't remember their birthday or something. How horrible would that be? Maybe in doing that, you not only remember their birthday, or you remember a significant event, when their graduation was, that sort of thing, but you take it the extra step at that point. You go to a higher level in your thinking. So that is absolutely what many could take from art, from painting, from portrait painting. That's what I take about myself. It definitely expands my memory.
Okay. Is that mainly what you paint, is portraiture?
Yes, self-portraits and impression painting. I can paint places, people. A lot of my clients right now are wanting self-portraits. Many want self-portraits, or their late pets, or their late family members, or a place for vacation, a dream vacation resort destination. That who knows what they want. It's all about the season. It's all about what they can't do. One of my clients, you wanted me to sketch their grandchildren for them, and I thought that was so cute and so precious. And they were babies, and I sketched them. So it's like I said, it's a very family kind of thing, but it's many it's a family vibe, and I like that. So.
You also do speaking. I take it that's more public speaking. What kind of public
It's
speaking do you do?
Sure. It's motivational. it's public speaking a lot. Some of it is religious, and yeah, and some of it is motivational, and it all depends on what they need. There are a lot of seminars out there. A lot of high school and college kids are in need to hear certain things, and from a perspective, and kind of help them and launch them into their careers. And that's huge right now to organizations. So yeah, that's it's all part of it. It's and also speaking and as far as the crafts go and the arts. So
Okay. Yeah, one of the best classes I took in college, I think it was probably the first year or two, was a public speaking class, and
yes.
it's great. It's along the lines of one of those things of helping. If writing helps you get your thoughts straight, then public speaking definitely helps you communicate with others. So, how do you prepare for a talk?
Oh gosh, saying it out loud, timing myself, making sure, because whatever sounds good out loud might not be what you wrote,
Mm.
and honestly, what you wrote might not sound the same out loud, type thing. So it's one of those things. It's really training and it's discipline. So I oftentimes say it out loud. Um, I oftentimes have to kind of change what I write, and yeah, just timing myself, getting the words right, getting the grammar right, and yeah, just doing what I do out loud, and just timing, and just practicing and training, and just keep going.
Do you memorize what you're going to say, or do you have an outline and you have like a couple words on each topic, and then you just talk from that?
I kind of do the latter. I probably should time myself, but it's one of those things where, because, like I said, because I do more painting, it helps me to remember things, and I have a great memory naturally. Like I can definitely remember certain things in many events. Numbers to me, but other things, other details, I can remember every detail in a room. Also, because of the art, of course. And so, because that, naturally, I use that in the way of speaking, and I use that in the way of writing. And when I do that, certain words are triggers, and certain things, certain movements go trigger into other movements, and then the timing affects that. And then, and oftentimes, when you get so good at it and get in the groove of it, you continue in that groove, and there's an ease that happens. So I find that groove.
Do you use any particular type of ways to remember visually? Like, do you tell yourself if you're trying to remember what's inside of a room or a scene that you want to paint, do you tell yourself a story about what's happening in it to remember, or do you have any other ways of memorizing what you see?
I see what you're saying. Um, as far as helping to memorize, the ways, for me, yes, it's more about details. I'll usually write a word down, and then I'll remember the whole story and every detail that happened. So I write the word down, and then the situation. I all I need to do is write one detail down of the whole situation. That'll help the whole situation. So it's all about what we've trained our minds to do already. Yeah.
If you're like for instance, the picture behind you of a horse, if you're thinking about like you're out in the field and you see a horse running and you're like, I want to paint a picture like that. And I want the
Mhm.
mane a certain thing. And I want the face to look this certain way, the sun from this side, not that side. The shadows are here.
Mhm.
Do
Mhm.
you create that narrative in your head of like a story about a horse running through the field, the wind is blowing, so you remember the mane, you remember those patterns you want to do? Or is it specifically each item that you're remembering or mes- memorizing the curls of the hair are this way and this is the pattern I'm using for that? The face looks like this with the sun coming from
No, it's
its
more the
right
shape.
side.
It's really
Okay.
mostly the shape. Yeah. Details in that way, to me, it's about shape. The
Okay.
shape of the horse, that sort of thing. Yeah, the shape of it, and how, It also depends on if I'm painting for a client or not. So yeah,
because it depends on
yeah,
what they want, and they'll tell you.
absolutely. As opposed to if I'm just doing just a painting, yeah, for myself for
With
sure.
with the public speaking, does that transfer over well to the acting, like being able to
Yes,
memorize things and
yes,
used to talking in
yes,
front of people?
yes, absolutely,
How'd you get
absolutely.
how'd you get started into acting?
Acting was something I did from many many years ago. Just basically being on set and just just starting, just like writing, really script writing really manifested into that, because I found that I knew when I was writing scripts and just writing in my journal and stuff like that at a young age, I knew that I would connect with other creative individuals. I did not know that it would be in the entertainment industry. I knew that I wanted to be the center of attention because I was the baby of my family. Did
Hmm.
not know how severe it would get. I did not know how intense it would get, and I did not know what would come of that. And to me, helping people was something you could do even in the religious community, and it's not just limited to a building. To me, you know, there was something new that was opening up for me, and I knew that I was going to help people more. I just didn't know how much more, and I did not know that it could be without the four walls of where I grew up. So,
Are you a method actor?
mm, um, I could be. I could be. I'm really, what is it? Method acting, yes, but also become them. I think that is method too. Whenever
Yep.
you
And
completely get
understanding the
completely
motivation. Yeah.
immersed in your character. Yes, yes, and that can be bad sometimes. But hey, you gotta have fun. You gotta have fun.
Yeah.
So,
What have you noticed in your experience is are are the contributing factors between good acting and bad acting? Like when
oh,
you, because we can all
bad
look at a
acting
movie
is
and go, "That's bad."
right. Well, bad acting is when you don't know the truth. You don't know the truth of your character. That's really a problem. You're there's truth in your character that you're studying. And if you don't have that, that's really a bad actor because you haven't found the truth set in your character, and that's a bad actor. A great actor is someone who knows their character, who has made a ton of hot choices that actually work. That doesn't get on the director's nerves or piss the director off, and knows their character and has made the scenes very comfortable for themselves and other cast and crew. So that to me is a good actor versus a bad actor.
Hmm. What's the difference between, or the big differences between an actor and a director, between the job of that?
An actor and a director, what's the difference in them?
Mhm.
The director has the most power there. Actors can be replaced, although with their egos, they'll never agree to that. um, the difference in the both of them is one is in front of the camera and one is behind. And it's the one that's behind the camera holds really all the power and can make that film is the power behind that project. The actor is just a character, in on set.
So if you have a movie or whatever with bad acting, it's the fault of the director more than anything.
It's not just the director. It takes a lot on a particular set. So it could be many, many things. It could be the noise that's happening. It could be the plane that flies over. It could be the weather. It could be anything and everything. And a director's worst nightmare is when a plane flies over on the martini shot. Whenever you're trying to wrap up, that's the
Mm.
worst feeling ever. And you're just like you really get tested. And if you're a Christian, that's when your Christianity is compromised. No, no, no. No, I'm joking. Honestly, that's where a person's whole directorial career is really tested because they're like, ugh, type thing. Like you can't control weather. You can't control a plane you can't control something that's over your head. Pardon the pun. So, I mean, it's just the way it is. You got to go with it.
How do you select your part or a script that you're going to be a part of?
A connection to that character, for sure. If you can't relate to it, then don't even read for it. But if you can and you spot it, then it has to stand out to you. So,
How do you go about getting or finding scripts and things? Do you
oh,
have an agent
audition.
that you
Yeah.
go through? Or
Yes, yes, yes. And the agency also, a lot of the roles that I pick are just from hearsay because I'm already connected with individuals and I'm already connected in the industry. It's all about networking, and it's all about the people that that you built a relationship with, how many years you've been doing what you're doing, how serious you are about your craft. And yeah, an agency, but agents don't really like, you don't. I know I said this, you don't really have to have an agent. You don't even really have to have representation, but you just have to know your goal, and there's has to be a plan and action and implementation. So, okay, I think I'm running out of time, but
okay, what are the best places for people to follow what you're doing?
sure. I have an Instagram. It's called at Higher Living Holly. I have a website too. It's right on my Instagram. You can click the link. It's in with Page Publishing. That's where you can find my book, and things like that. And yes, I do signatures. I've done many book signings in the past, and I will continue to do them. So if ever I'm in your area, if you want to reach out to me by email, I do have Facebook. I do have Instagram. I'm also on Alignable. So I'm very accessible. You can reach me by email or you can reach me by social media. Just reach out to me. So yeah.
All right. Well, I'll get those links and put them in the show notes so people can go to the Instagram and the other ones. Thank you very much for your
Perfect.
time. Do you have any thoughts in closing?
No, not at all. But it's very interesting. These questions have been very interesting. Yeah, it's been very, very. It's been an honor to be on here. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for your time. And I'll talk to you on the other side of the exit here. Okay.
Sure.